G protein coupled receptor. Let's start from the name. G protein coupled receptor pathway. Well, G protein, what is meant by this term? You have a protein known as G protein, which has 3 units: alpha, beta, gamma. This is a G protein, and you have this receptor. So now when this G protein is attached with this receptor, we call this as now G protein. G protein coupled means it is attached now receptor. Such a receptor which has a G protein and receptor attached together, that is known as G protein coupled receptor. And this G protein, I told you right now that it has 3 units: alpha, beta, and gamma. That's it. So now these G proteins are of 3 types: GS, GI, GQ. In this lecture we will talk about just GS and GI. Well, first of all, we will just talk about how this pathway is observed when any ligand attached to this receptor. By ligand we mean any drug or anything. When the drug or any stimulant or any ligand comes and binds to this receptor will become activated. Now this activated receptor, what will happen to this? Then it will forward the signal inside the cell. Means downstream signaling will happen. So when this receptor is activated, it has G protein attached to this, and this G protein which has alpha, beta, gamma. The alpha unit has GDP attached to it. When the ligand binds and this receptor activates, what will happen? This GDP will be replaced by the GTP, and this GTP with this alpha will move from here, will be detached from the beta and gamma, and this alpha with the GTP will come and will activate the adenylyl cyclase, which is an effector available on the membrane. Now this adenylyl cyclase or adenylate cyclase, its job is to convert ADP to cyclic AMP, ATP to cyclic AMP. And now this cyclic AMP has got a very interesting job. That is, it will activate the protein kinase A. Whenever you hear the term kinase, kinase is responsible to do the phosphorylation. Whenever you hear, so you must click that kinase is doing phosphorylation. So here, this protein kinase A will do the phosphorylation, means it will add the phosphate to some other things. Here, this protein kinase A will add this inorganic phosphate to some enzymes, some proteins, some channels. Now what will happen when the phosphate is added in these enzymes, proteins, and channels? This mechanism is called phosphorylation. And when the phosphate is added, sometimes the enzymes will become inactive. Sometimes the enzymes, proteins, or channels, they all will become inactive due to phosphorylation. And sometimes due to phosphorylation, these will become active. Now what is the logic behind activation and inactivation or deactivation? Very simple. In the beginning we told that GS, GI, and GQs are the subtypes of the G protein. Suppose this receptor is attached with the G protein which is GS coupled. If it is GS coupled, what will happen? This receptor will be stimulated by the ligand. After stimulation, now this is suppose GS coupled, okay? Now this GS will transfer the signal, and at the end this will do phosphorylation will happen of the enzymes, proteins, and channel. If the signal is received by the GS coupled receptor, then this phosphorylation of this enzyme, protein, or channels, then these will become active. Why? Because the signal is from GS. And guess what? If the signal is not from the GS, it is from the GI, means this G protein is now GI coupled with the receptor. Now this GI coupled receptor, if it is stimulated by any ligand, what will happen? You know, I inhibitory, S stimulatory. Now this GI coupled receptor will send the signal inside. So now this is also supposed to do the phosphorylation. In this case, this when phosphate is added into this enzyme or proteins or channels, these enzymes, these proteins, these channels will become inactive. Why? Because the signal is by GI. So GS coupled receptor will do the phosphorylation, and that phosphorylation will turn these enzymes, proteins, channels to active state. And if GI protein coupled receptor is receiving the signal, and then this signal will cause the phosphorylation, and this phosphorylation will turn these enzymes, proteins, channels inactive. So GS protein coupled receptor pathway will cause the activation, and GI coupled receptor pathway will cause the inactivation after phosphorylating these enzymes, proteins, or channel. So that's a little bit from my side regarding the GPCR pathway. If still you have any kind of question regarding the topic, you can drop that in the comment box. We'll come for the answers very soon. Thank you for watching.